Before we get started, please put a like, comment, share if you're on YouTube, put a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell. If you're on Rumble, swipe and hit the plus sign. Welcome back to Know and Grow. You can't live what you don't know. And today we are on day 16, Move Ahead. And we are getting very close to the November 8th elections. I hope that God is speaking to you and that you are seeking Him. Today we're going to move ahead from what we talked about yesterday, which was leave behind. And I'm going to reread what I had read yesterday from my friend Glenda. Do not take with you as you leave this season anything that belongs in Egypt. Shed the old wineskin and get ready for the new. Pray for God to fill you with the miraculous as we impact a world that continues to shake. So what are some things that can happen when we decide to leave behind and we take that step forward to move ahead? Well, you know what happened immediately with the Israelites when they left Egypt? They came up to the Red Sea. And we might have a Red Sea experience right off the bat, just like they did. And they had to listen to God. Moses prayed, and God gave them a mighty, mighty deliverance. So even if you come up against a Red Sea right away, just look to God, and He will bring you through on the other side. Another thing is, don't look back over your shoulder. Remember Lot's wife when they were fleeing Sodom and Gomorrah? She looked back over her shoulder, and the Bible says she turned into a pillar of salt. And the Israelites did something like that too. They got into some situation like they were always getting into so many times. The Bible talks about during their 40-year travels. And they began to pine after Egypt. If only we had stayed in Egypt. We had garlic and leeks. Now, I love garlic. That would be really hard for me to leave behind. And I love to eat. So being stuck with manna for breakfast, for lunch, for supper, and for snack and dessert, that would be a little tough. But, you know, we can't pine after what we left behind. We have to trust the Lord that He will give us the exact right thing that's right for us. Another thing they did was they tried to do it their own way. Remember Moses? He had listened to God and struck the rock at one point, and that was God's provision for getting water. But at another point, he took it upon himself to do his own thing without listening to what God was telling him, and he struck the rock. And that time, it wasn't God's will for it to happen that way. So don't think that just because it was successful one time, that's the way you're always supposed to do it. Every time you come up against something, make sure you take it to God. And when it was time to enter the promised land, they had unbelief. So that's what happened there. It was unbelief. And they could have obeyed and listened to the 2 spies, but they listened to the 10 instead. It filled their heart with doubts. You know what? We are very open to the power of suggestion. Too much. And we need to think about that and guard ourselves against it and listen to the right sources. Well, that's just a little bit about moving ahead. There's so much more we could say, but that's all for today. Move ahead without murmuring, without trying to do it your own way, without looking over your shoulder at the past and pining after it, and without grumbling with unbelief when it's really time to cross and get into the promised land. You take care. I love you. Bye-bye.